Morning. We are waking up now fresh off of Game 6 of the NBA Finals.
Yes.
And now a new champion.
Fresh? Would you say fresh?
Well, there's a new champion when we talk about basketball. And by the way, when we talk about the World Championship, the stakes are about as high as it gets.
Right.
So we've decided to bring in someone who really knows his stuff. We are super lucky this morning to be joined by Sportscenter anchor and Hopkins County native, Michael Eaves, to break down what happened last night. Michael, first of all, thanks for waking up early with us this morning in the Tri-State.
Hey, no problem, man. Glad to do it.
So, Michael, you stayed up late to watch the game last night. You already kind of talked to us about that. The Bucks are champions. They've been a really good team for the last 3 or 4 years, but one of those who was never able to go over the hump, and you obviously covered them extensively with your gig at SportsCenter. What did you think about the game last night?
You know, I've been doing this for so long. I don't root for teams anymore, but I do root for stories. And the Milwaukee Bucks story is a great story, led by one of the best all-around athletes we've ever seen in Giannis Antetokounmpo. So for them to win a championship for that organization for the first time in 50 years, and for Giannis, who's a two-time MVP, to score 50 points in an NBA Finals closeout game, just the second time that's ever happened, that tied Bob Pettit for the all-time record. That record was set like in 1958, I believe. You put those two things together, and it's just an awesome moment for that team, those players, and the people of Milwaukee to be able to celebrate that championship. And to me, that was the thing I enjoyed the most. Now, personally, I'd rather see a Game 7 just because the sports fan in me wants to see as many games as possible. But in terms of how it ended for that team, the organization, I just thought it was a great story.
Well, Michael, I stayed up late to watch the game, and of course, we get up a little early on this morning shift, and so it was kind of a tough one to watch. I mean, if it could be a little earlier, it'd be nice. I think on the East Coast, it ended somewhere after midnight. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I guess that could be kind of a little tough on people. But you stayed up late. We appreciate you getting up early. I can't help but notice you're wearing a UK blue. You know, Jake and I were Western Kentucky grads, and Michael, you grew up a hop, skip, and a jump from Bowling Green. Kind of wondering why you chose UK over Western Kentucky.
Easy story. It's a very easy story. My sister went to Western. I did multiple camps at Western. I was planning to go to Western Kentucky about the time, midway through my senior year. And what happened was the University of Kentucky offered me a bigger scholarship. I went to school on an academic scholarship. I didn't play sports in college. It was an academic scholarship. And Kentucky gave me a full ride, and Western was not trying to. So that's on the Hilltoppers, bro. Like, but UK came with the money. You got to follow the money.
Oh, man.
All right, I'll forgive you then. Yeah, you got to go with that scholarship. Absolutely. Congratulations on that, Michael, no doubt.
Yeah, the Hilltoppers, we are, as alum, probably living to regret. Michael, let's talk about your time in Western Kentucky growing up in Hopkins County. You grew up in White Plains. We discussed that with you at the end of last week. I wanted to ask you about your athletic career because you played multiple sports growing up. What's a story whenever you get together and talk to some of your colleagues and your friends, you talk about maybe high school or youth sports, what's a story you usually share about your days playing either basketball or golf?
Yeah, there's two. One of them was my junior year in high school, and I had torn the ACL on my knee like the second day of practice that year, but we ended up having a pretty good team, and we lost to Madisonville in the district championship game, right? And that was one of the best games I've ever been a part of, and we lost, right? But it was such a positive memory for us finishing second in the district that year. I tell that story often just because of Madisonville, led by Travis Ford at the time, they were supposed to blow us out, and it came down to the final seconds, I believe, if I remember correctly. I played well off the bench in that game, but I just remember that game because it's the best loss I've ever been a part of. I'll put it that way. And then for golf, I ended up being fortunate enough to compete in the Kentucky State Championship my senior year. And I was the first black golfer to qualify for the state championship at the time back in 1990. And so that was a huge deal for me, and especially my dad, who was born and raised there in White Plains, and he taught me the game. And for him to be able to be a part of that journey and go to the championship rounds there in Elizabethtown, that was a huge deal for me growing up. And those are the two things I remember the most from high school.
Yeah, those are great memories there, Michael. No doubt about that. Hey, what's one thing you miss about Western Kentucky? I would imagine some of the food we have here is not quite the same as what you get up at UConn or Connecticut. And I'm thinking, you got to be missing the mutton and the barbecue. You know you are.
You know what it is? I miss the access to it. Okay, so every time I go home back to my mother and sister live in Madisonville now. And every time I go back there, my mom treats it like it's Thanksgiving because I don't get to come home often. So she just does all these full spreads every time I come home. So now I don't tell her I'm coming. I just show up so she'd have time to cook as much. But if I lived back in Western Kentucky, I would probably be another 50 pounds heavier because the food is so good. It's so hard not to eat it and eat it in bulk that I miss the access to it. I don't think I miss having it every single day.
Right.
You're probably right.
Hey, Michael, our last question for you is, when you talk about TV, you've had a great career in TV. I actually was able to intern at the station in Lexington where you started your career. And even then, this is 10, 12 years ago, they were talking about you as somebody who was really special. That's when you were out in the West Coast. So it's great to see you have success at Sportscenter. But with all the TV places you've worked and where you're at now, there's got to be maybe one behind-the-scenes story maybe you can share with us quickly that anything, we love the behind-the-scenes stuff in TV. Anything that comes to mind is something you share with your family and friends?
All right, so here's one story, and I'll try to make it quick as possible. So when you work for a local news station, as you guys know, if it's breaking news or a huge story, the sports people can become news reporters and going out and doing certain things. I remember I was in Lexington, and we had a series of tornadoes, right, over towards Georgetown or whatever, and we're trying to get crews different places. So they told me, yo, jump in this live truck, run it to Georgetown so we can do a live shot, right? So I'm like, great. And I'm and about halfway there, I'm like, why am I driving a live truck with a huge antenna on it towards a tornado? Like, what am I doing right now? I delivered the truck and I went back to the station, but just the mindset of when you're in this job and you're a reporter and you're a journalist, like you go to where the story is, and it just hit me in the forehead. Like you were literally taking a truck with a huge mast on it towards a tornado. You didn't train for that in journalism school. That's one of my favorite memories of there in KYT, because like who drives a truck towards a tornado?
Yeah, rolling lightning rod is what you were.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what am I doing right now?
Hey, Michael, thanks for joining us. By the way, happy birthday yesterday.
Yes, happy birthday,
and in
Michael.
honor of that, we actually, we've got some mutton headed your way. Now, we don't have the big TV budget you've got, so we couldn't afford refrigeration on shipping. And we couldn't pay for priority shipping. It might take a couple weeks to get there, but it's the thought that counts, right?
Okay.
2-week-old mutton.
That's going to be real tasty.
Oh, yeah, it'd be real tasty.
Michael Eaves, thank you so much for joining us. We love watching you on SportsCenter. Keep up the good work, and thanks for representing Hopkins County and Western Kentucky so well.
No problem, guys. Take care.